Welcome to episode 90 of High Tales of History, a history podcast where two sisters get stoned and surprise each other with a story from history. I'm your older sister, Laurel.
Leaving me to be the younger sister, Katie.
There she is. Episode 90, folks. Can you believe that? It means we are going to be hitting episode 100 within the next season, and I think that's good news. That's thrilling to me.
It's wild. We'll be hitting triple digits, man.
I'm so glad that you're all here with us tonight. I'm so glad that you've been here along this journey of 90 episodes on our way to 100, on our way to 100 more. Yeah, we've been doing this a little over 3 years now. So I guess while we're on the topic of it, a little housekeeping here, please make sure that you're subscribed and following the show so that way you get more notifications of when episodes come out. And also, just so we can continue growing, please rate and review. That helps us. I think really more than anything, that helps us. And it's free too, which is great. So it's a free way to help support the show.
That's always nice.
Right? The more, I know everyone likes free, the more ratings and reviews and stars and all that sort of stuff that gets attached to our show, the better. Because that means algorithms go, oh, hey, people are listening to this show. If you also want to listen to this show, and it pushes it to more people. So that would be awesome. Plus it's Katie's birthday coming up, and we'll say, can we do that as a birthday present to our dear Katie? So we would love that. And then, hey, get coming a little closer. If you really love what we're doing, we have a Patreon. It's called the Best Buds Club, and you can join Patreon a couple of different levels and get some more fun content like historical cooking videos, reactions to Hollywood's historical movies. That's a lot of fun. Me and my little tiny microphone talk a lot of shit. So yeah, that's patreon.com/High Tales of History. It's the Best Buds Club. So you can come over there if you really are loving what we're doing and want to support us in a bigger way. All right. With that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, dust. Boom, boom, dust it off. Put away the dustpan. There it is. Katie, how are you? What are you drinking tonight or imbibing in? What's your thing? How are you? How are you doing? Goes for
I'm hanging in there, man. It's been a musical couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Could be more musical, but I'm trying not to be bitter about it.
Yeah, no. Sorry, Katie. You were rained out from the remnants of hurricane.
We were hurricaned out.
Yeah, the remnants of
rain
Hurricane
wasn't going to stop us.
I suppose it was the wind, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was that deep in water, and they're like, we're running it. We're going to do it. I mean, shout out to Louder Than Life, though, for being what an amazing, organization. Constant communication. People weren't left standing out in the rain or anything like that. Everyone always had a spot where they could shelter in place if they needed to, which happened 3 times, I think, that day.
Wow.
Yeah, they finally called it. I know. They finally called it after one of the employees got dragged by an umbrella or something, or got hit with it when it whipped by. But the winds were at 60 miles an hour, and when we were pulling out of the parking lot, the metal sign was just bent like that, and I was like,
"Oh shit,
it's probably not safe." Alas, it was not to be. But I did get to go to Red Rocks for the first time. That was magical. The world's foremost hurdy-gurdy player. The hurdy-gurdy. Yeah.
Hurdy-gurdy.
Dude, he had a hurdy-gurdy solo. He had a whole beginning of a song to himself, and it was rad. I didn't know gurdies could hurdy like that. Or hurdies could gurdy. You know what I'm trying to say right now. It was so rad, dude. It was so good. And
That's really interesting.
Oh my gosh. It was so, it was literally going to a drum circle if we all had rhythm and all knew the songs. That's what this was. The best way I could tell you. Everyone's just clapping along. I'm just going to say it, I've never heard white people keep rhythm like this. Everybody kept rhythm. Well, a couple of the people got off.
Everybody.
And I was just sitting here clapping along, and I'm so when I'm high, rhythm out the wazoo. When I'm not, anxiety takes over, and I will second guess every minutia of my hand movements. So it will be all over the place.
Oh, okay.
When I'm roasted, though, I am steady as the beating drums, I might say. And even Blake said it. He goes, "You have amazing rhythm when you're high." I was like, "Yep, not when I'm sober, though." He goes, "Oh, no, not at all."
No, that's not your skill, rhythm.
Nope.
No. Speaking of white people in music, Mom and I that weekend you were at Louder Than Life, or we're going to
Yeah.
be at Louder Than Life. When we went to go see Billy Joel and Sting. That was a very white concert.
Laurel
It was
loves
great.
Sting.
I love Billy Joel and Sting. I was just so excited they were both together, and they both sounded really great. And
That's
I've never
awesome.
seen Billy Joel, and I've always wanted to see Billy Joel. And
Yeah, how was he?
Old BJ can fucking rock. I think he said he was 75, and I was like, wait, what? Holy shit! Still sounds great. Still plays the piano wonderfully, and he actually jogged off stage at one point, and I was like, oh lordy, mommy's jogging. Like whoa! But it was kind of a mixed crowd. It was like a lot of it wasn't really a mixed crowd. There was not a lot of diversity, but I mean, mixed ages, I should say.
I see. Skin
There's
color, not so much. Ages, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ages there. I was expecting to be on like the younger end because I was assuming it'd probably be a lot of people Mom's age generally, people who like listened to Billy Joel when he was out, and then like their kids. So like I was expecting to see like the parents and then like the millennial children,
Yeah.
But there were a bunch of young people there. I was really impressed. But anyway, it was great. So thanks St. Louis for having us down there.
That's amazing. Did he play for the longest time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's one of my favorites.
All the hits. We've had a musical couple of weeks. Speaking of for the longest time, you were making cider for the longest time before you got on here, and I was like, "Are you like?"
Dude, it was taking forever to heat up.
Dude, all right.
Maybe I just left the burner too low because after like I was sitting there, I was getting really frustrated, so I turned it up to like 8. Blake's like, "You don't need to turn it that high," and I was like, "I'm gonna fucking boil it." Like I was like raging cooking it. Anywho, I made some deliciously spiced cider with nothing in it but cider and love in my happy little mug. And then to answer your question, my nighttime edible to stop me from being twitchy so that we get through this and then we get to go to bed.
Yeah, there we go. That sounds great. A little smoke, a little sesh, a little history sesh.
I was going to say, what was your imbibement this evening?
Sorry. I have a glass of wine.
Oh, the red wine's arrived.
And some wedding cake strain. That was the weirdest way to say that. The strain of wedding cake. So it sounds kind of decadent. I've got wine and wedding cake.
I was gonna say, I was like, all right, you bougie bitch.
Yeah, that's me. And speaking of bougie, I've got some interesting history. Bougie. Well, sort of, yeah. That was my way to segue. It was pretty shit, so I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody for that shit segue.
You're good.
But
what wine are you having? I need to know that before we continue.
It's a Nighthawk Boda box or something like that. It's
Bold, dark, and jammy.
I can't remember which kind it is. I think it's just like the red blend or something like that. But it was the last of what was in the box, so I just squeezed out the bag,
wringing it out for all it's worth.
And then so that's it. Perfectly filled up a serving of wine for me, which is great. So
perfect.
There it is. All right. Bottle, leaf, grinder, shoot.
I'm not high enough to be successful.
I like how you were a complete like offbeat from me. Katie, you are the grinder. I am the leaf. You win.
I suppose this is the point when I should issue you all a warning that since it's the October episode, it's going to be a rough one. It is, as they say, it's pretty full on. So if medieval torture methods and murder upsets you, this half of the episode is not for you. I'm sure Laurel in the show notes can put a point when her story starts and mine ends, because there will be no shortage of infanticide, murder, incest. Just prepare thyself.
I'm going to grab my glass of wine. I'm going to say, hit me with it.
Most everyone is familiar with the Salem witch trials. Phenomena, and I don't know if it's a phenomena, crazy batshitness, groupthink, occurred in Salem, Massachusetts in early 1692 through the middle of 1693. It involved more than 200 people, with no less than 200 being accused of practicing witchcraft, and 20 of which were actually executed. So, what we don't know, well, You might know. I'm going to pretend that you don't know because otherwise it's going to make it a really awkward story and be like, oh, I've heard of it before. Anyway, 200 years before the witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts, courts in Europe were convicting men and some women of transforming into werewolves and mutilating and eating children and people. I don't know why it's like stays at children. It definitely was a lot more than that. But anyway.
Damn.
Before the infamous witch trials in Salem were the werewolf trials in Europe between the 1400s and 1700s. While finding accurate numbers from this time point in history is really freaking hard because, I mean, not everything was written down. So numbers are a bit skewed and sometimes it's difficult to tell what's accurate and what's not because there were times where they would accuse like 30,000 people of being witches or practicing witchcraft and being or imbibing in werewolfery or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Lycanthropy is probably more the word.
There you go. I like it.
Basically, in rural towns where herbal medicine and like folklore is still practiced, the religious leaders of the time would basically condemn them for witchcraft. So it's not an accurate number because they didn't actually do a crime that led to, they didn't imbibe in werewolfery, we shall call it.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, these people in this town typically practice folk witchcraft or folk magic or, folklore
right, or they
stuff.
have a
and
healer.
So all of them are, yeah, okay,
right.
I see. Yeah, so that's definitely skews some numbers.
It does, but it's estimated that after historians have looked at it, they think an accurate number would be at least several hundred. There's no real number. We can't give a real one, but several hundred people were accused and persecuted. Yep. And pretty much a lot of those people lost their lives if you were accused of it. Because it's kind of like the witchcraft in Salem. How can you prove or disprove it? And then they just come up with all these batshit reasons why you're guilty.
Right. Okay.
So charges that real people could be menacing as werewolves surfaced as a part of the witch trials that swept through Europe in the 1400s. According to some accounts, several hundred men and women were convicted and burned at the stake in Valais, maybe? Yes. Okay. No, it's Valais. You're right. And this was around 1428. Again, I know I issued the warning at first, but from here it just gets
it's a big glory.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So when they were burned at the stake, often with a sack of gunpowder around their necks. So any land they owned was automatically transferred to the local vassal of the king or noble or lord or whatever, which may have spurred accusations. No other animal has matched the influence of the wolf in European folktales of human to animal transportation. Yeah, good job. Transformation, or transportation for that matter.
Gotta ride my wolf to work day.
Yeah, if you've got a dire wolf, maybe. Good luck. Slap a saddle on that bitch. You know my miles to the gallon. It cost me at least a leg of deer to get to work today. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gas prices these days, I tell you.
Some researchers theorize that it's because for thousands of years, wolves have lived alongside mankind, right? Even like caveman days. It was probably the most frequently encountered land predator for people. Bears, yes, but they just weren't as widespread as wolves, and bears are loners anyway. They don't travel in packs. So really wolves would be the genuine threat to people living on the continent. It's supported by the comparison that the wolf trials in England and other European countries all occurred in the forested region of Europe. So like France, Germany, England. There's another one that's not coming to mind right now. Maybe it was Belgium. So in anywhere where there was not a wolf population, basically they didn't have trials going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Pretty much by the end of the 15th century, very, very few were left. They were pretty much eradicated from England. I highly doubt England doesn't have any now, do they? No.
I don't know that. I don't.
Oh.
England help?
Yeah, right.
Help us, England? I don't know. That seems like a bold statement, but I don't know. Yeah, go to Google because I feel like I can't. I don't know if I can stand by that statement.
There are no gray wolves in England. Wolves were hunted to extinction over 300 years ago.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, they were the last of
England.
Britain's top predators to be hunted to extinction. And in 1281, Edward I ordered the extermination of all wolves in England. And it's generally accepted, as I was just about to tell you, that wolves were extinct in England by the end of the 15th century.
Oh, wow, Katie, thank you. Thank you for bringing those facts. That was a wild thing to learn. I
just kind of ask Google, dude.
Because I don't think I've heard of any stories of wolves in England, but at the same time, to say that there aren't any there just sounded like it was just a really wild thing to say. But
there weren't wolves in Yellowstone for almost 50 years because they got hunted to extinction. They had to be put back in like 2006, I think, or something like that. So it happened a lot of places, actually.
Okay, interesting. Well, thank you. Okay, let's find out what happens then.
So, due to that, by the end of the 15th century, no more trials were recorded on English soil past that point. There are also no trials in the Mediterranean regions of Europe. For some, however, even after wolves are eradicated in certain spots, not France and not Germany, they still had them. For some, the presence of werewolves on Earth was just as real as you or me. All across old Estonia, the Netherlands, France, and Germany was a decent number of documented attacks by large beasts, along with various accounts of individuals being accused of lycanthropy, which we all know at this point is just werewolfery. One of the first known accounts, I'm going to stop warning you, but just so you know, these are massively brutal. So, one of the first known accounts of someone being accused of lycanthropy was in France in 1521. Michael Verdun, Philbert Manteau, Pierre Bourgeot. It looks like Bourgat, but I feel like that's not how you say that in French. It's probably Bourgeot. So all three of these guys, Phil, Pierre, and Michael, are arrested and tortured by the French authorities until they confess to the crime of lycanthropy after a wolf attack supposedly occurred in a nearby settlement. Verdun, who was Michael, was the one to give up the names of Manteau and Bourgeot, so Phil and Pierre. They were forced to confess to the notion that they received a type of ointment that granted them their shape-shifting abilities in a kind of deal with the devil. Ooh.
Oh.
Yes, the men in wolf form had supposedly hunted, killed, and eaten a number of people, including some children. There's a lot of that here, so like if eating children bothers you. Basically, what the church kind of claims that they did, they said by disavowing God, they were granted protection by the devil, along with a relentless, terrible power. Consequently, all three of these men were found guilty of werewolfery and swiftly executed via burning at the stake. Burn her! By the French authorities. Take a deep breath. It's going to get more brutal. So there's a Gilles Garnier, is another notable case. Garnier was a French hermit residing in the outskirts of Dole. The town of Dole is a small commune in eastern France, Dole. But unlike Verdun, Manteau, and Bourgeot, Garnier was actually a cannibalistic serial killer. Sounds like a good name to a good album. Cannibalistic serial killer. Anyway, according to what information that can be found about this man, he and his newlywed, which I don't know how he got married, but...
Wow. There's a lid for every pot there, huh, buddy?
Yeah, or she had no idea what the hell was happening.
Yeah.
He and his newlywed wife struggled to find food to feed both of them, and he was used to having only to fend for himself. This resulted in a considerable strain on their marriage. After a few children had gone missing or were eventually found dead, nearby authorities were very quick to assume that it was, of course, the work of a werewolf. Duh. and encouraged people to help in finding and slaying the beast. Soon after, a group of workers managed to apprehend and arrest Garnier after spotting him with a child's corpse in the middle of the night. The workers asserted that they initially thought that Garnier was a wolf due to the, and I quote, dim lighting. Whatever that means.
Y'all, you're seeing this guy at dusk or at nighttime.
Right.
With lanterns,
They said
maybe,
it was the middle of the night. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Of course there's dim lighting, you silly gooses. Oh, no. So they found him and they're like, oh, no, it's a wolf. Oh, no, it's actually a human being who's...
Oh, no.
Which is far worse.
It's just Garnier, the weirdo.
That's upsetting. Oh, no. Okay.
It's a rough one, man.
Yeah.
During his trial, Garnier claimed that he was visited by a specter during one of his desperate hunts for food in the forest. The specter supposedly promised Garnier an ointment that would give him wolf-like powers, which would assist him in hunting. Obviously, more effectively, sure, great. But it was during this trial that he confessed to the murders roughly of 4 children by killing and cannibalizing them. Obviously, the specter forgot to tell him about that being a possibility. He was, of course, found guilty of lycanthropy and witchcraft and was burned at the stake.
Goodness gracious.
Makes you wonder, sorry, this is going to be super muffed up, but, we might as well go there. Makes you wonder if the wife knew what he was bringing them. Like, wouldn't it taste funny?
Like, what is this? It's a neighbor kid. Ick. Right? I mean...
Dude, that's so fucked up.
It's so fucked up.
It's
such... You live out in the woods. You can't find something else? I mean...
A raccoon, dude? Oh, no, they don't have raccoons in France. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, in America, we got plenty of critters for eating. I'll find a possum.
Oh, no. I bet you got some more up your sleeve. Don't leave us waiting.
Oh, it gets so much worse. One of the best. Whoa, Katie, whoa. One of the most infamous cases.
Oh, no.
I've mentioned this man in a past episode. I don't remember what number it was. I'm sure Laura will leave it in the show notes. It's the one where I talk about history's lesser-known serial killers. Peter Stubb from Bedburg, Germany.
Oh, this guy.
Okay. Oh, he's a rough one.
Yeah.
He supposedly made a deal with the devil and was given a belt, which would allow him to shapeshift into a wolf. Over the course of 25 years, he murdered and ate countless victims. Well, records are not complete, but the death of 2 pregnant women, 13 children, including his own son, and a number of cows that had been mutilated were attributed to Stubb, as well as incest with his own daughter.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah. The fact that confessions were obtained through torture did nothing to lighten his savage sentence. And on October 31st of 1589, a crowd looked on as Stubb was strapped to a wooden wheel and his skin was removed with hot pincers. They peeled it off of his still living body. And then they took the blunt end of an axe and bashed all his bones. They broke all his bones with it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. And only after all of that was done did they finally decapitate him. And then they stuck his head on a pike next to a wooden carving in the likeness of a wolf's head, just to warn any other werewolves what was coming for them if they decided to show back up. I mean, boy, is this town the epitome of fuck around and find out. So that happened. And then, just to make sure that he didn't come back by some magical devilry, every bit of his body was burned. All of it.
Wow.
Yeah, you might want to hold on to something. I'm about to deliver the final detail that's even worse. And will probably upset you. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, good.
In horror, his daughter watched on before also being flayed alive, so skin peeling, and then strangled and also burned. So, yeah, it's rough days, man.
Why though?
Well,
Isn't she a victim here? Wait a second.
But let's not dwell on it too long, because we can't fix it.
No. What you said earlier, you said that the confessions were under torture.
Torture and duress. I think they all were.
Oh, no. So he would
Was there anyone who was questioned by medieval police that weren't under torture and duress?
I mean, yeah, I don't know what the rules were.
Whatever the king says goes.
Yeah, I mean, God. But, okay. take that as you will, then, folks. This guy really sounds like he probably is crap, but also fuck this guy. But also, okay, you know what? I know it's
upsetting.
Check, got it. Wolf belt man, yes, I remember him. Yep, fancy ointment and wolf belts.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. In the Netherlands, there was a man named Volkert Dirks. He confessed that he and his family were able to change into wolves and cats when commanded to do so by Satan. Both Volkert and his 17-year-old daughter were tried and convicted after Volkert's own teenage sons made the initial accusation, claiming that the family, like Peter Stubb, not Patrick, don't listen to me, I think that's the Fall Out Boy singer. Anyway, Peter Stubb, shitty murdering werewolf guy, had been given a magic belt by the devil. The brothers also accused their younger siblings, also of werewolfery and lycanthropy, ages just 8 and 11. I don't know what happened. We don't go into it. So moving on, despite being accused of being werewolves and being sentenced to some of the most gruesome deaths, not all were actually necessarily executed, which is shocking. Thies of Kattelbrunn, you heard that, his name is Thies, claimed to be the Hound of God, whatever the hell that is, telling stories of how he would enter hell 3 nights a year, dressed in a wolf cloak, to battle against demons and witches, in order to secure a good harvest for the following season.
Oh, he's God's werewolf.
Sure, if that's what he wants to fancy himself as. As he never confessed to making a pact with the devil in exchange for his ability to turn into a wolf, he was convicted of simply practicing folk magic and was sentenced to a good, solid flogging rather than execution.
Oh, no. You're God's werewolf, so you're going to get flogged, which still is terrible, but also you're not the devil's werewolf.
You could be on the wheel.
You could be dead, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
You could be getting your limbs broken with the blunt end of an axe.
Jeez. This fella. He doesn't strike me as being okay. You know what I mean? There's probably a lot of mental. Well, I mean, a lot of these people, but
all
this last one, the last one. He feels like maybe there's just some mental illness there.
Oh, probably.
I mean, I don't want to make assumptions here about people in history, but that one feels particularly.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You can make space for people in this world, and it's still fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I just there's something about that one that just feels a little bit extra. It just feels a little bit acid trippy. So I was maybe.
Nah, he was on some other shit.
Yeah, probably. I feel like maybe that one's in his neurology there.
Maybe. Noodle. But hold on to that, because we will delve into a little bit of what's probably going on with people.
Sure. Okay.
Anywho, moving on our delightful story of Halloween fun, a French tailor was burned alive in 1598 for being a werewolf and was found with children's bones in his house. Jean Grenet was a teenage cannibal caught after a failed attack on a young girl. Even today, we are short of explanations for such inhuman actions, and even early modern societies. Lycanthropy can seem almost plausible. Grenet confessed to making a pact with the devil to become a werewolf, a state of affairs he was reported to have genuinely believed happened. It was not uncommon during these kinds of trials that physicians were called as expert witnesses for witchcraft and werewolfery. One important responsibility they had was proving genuine insanity. In some cases, such as the teenage child killer and self-convinced werewolf Jean Grenet. I mean, he dies. So I don't know what that would have done for them, but maybe they killed him. Well, no, what did it say? Yeah, he was also burned alive. So it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, I could imagine at that time there wasn't really necessarily a mercy in that. It was more of just we have to really make sure that you're not out and about if it's just if it's fully in your head, there's no
right.
I don't know. I'm making assumptions there. It's interesting though that lycanthropy is almost and like werewolf is almost just like this. It's almost like this umbrella word, like a boogeyman word, like all these people are doing terrible things, or a lot of them are doing really terrible things. And they're like, oh, well, it must be a werewolf because human beings couldn't possibly be this awful, right? It's really interesting how
terrible,
this
right?
just like,
yeah,
please let it be something
a monster
other than people being, exactly, other than people like with the darkest, most horrible sort of things going on.
Terrible, huh?
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking out loud on that one, but
I mean, think out loud. Really it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a conversation I had with one of our grandparents, and they knew a person who was admitted to a mental hospital for lycanthropy, and he would tell
what?
Yeah, he would tell this grandparent of ours about like howling at the moon, and he would like climb into trees and like play the guitar and like scratch himself, and he was completely convinced that he changed during full moons and like would suffer these like lapses in memories and stuff.
Okay. I'm gonna cut this out, but which grandparents was it? Okay. Time back in again. All right, cool. Thank you, Katie. That's okay. Interesting. Yeah, please let me know what she says. But it's still a thing.
Like, look at that.
But like, I think now we have better understanding of like what mental health looks like, right? They're able to like go,
well, sure. Yeah, I get that.
Still, yeah.
But for it to still occur now, that's wild to me.
It is really interesting, but it also doesn't quite strike me as that unusual in terms of the time period that it's happening in, both then and now. Because I think there's like, because werewolf is still part of like, horror culture, sure. So.
But let me tell you some things that we found out about some substances, and it might actually make a lot more sense to you. So hold on there.
Okay, tell me.
Medical experts that were called to be expert witnesses had to make sure accused females were not pregnant. If they were generally not tortured or put to death. In other cases, physicians may have helped even convict people. Part of their role was to examine the defendant and check for signs of contact with the devil or witches' marks. The concept of humans transforming into wolves goes back millennia. Like, I'm talking a fucking long way. Okay. The Epic of Gilgamesh from Mesopotamia in 2100 BCE. The hero abandons a love interest when he learns that she turned an ex-lover into a werewolf.
Don't mess with her.
Yeah, right? Get wrecked. In Greek mythology, King Lycaon of Arcadia tests Zeus's omnipotence by feeding him disguised human remains and is turned into a werewolf as punishment when he is found out. Just to be fair,
Zeus, yeah.
I mean, I think it's okay to get upset, to be fed people and not told what it is. I too would get upset.
Yeah.
I won't necessarily banish you into werewolfery, but I will definitely kick your ass. So, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
At a minimum, I would do so.
Absolutely.
So, all that to be said, werewolves are also seen as a common figure in folklore of the Middle Ages, but they were usually benign characters who would shape-shift against their will into these beasts and were desperate to return to their human form. So that's more of like what you and I would recognize. Versus
the classic Wolfman story. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the modern one, though. It's not the original.
Is it not like the old like universal classic, isn't it?
Well, no, of today's modern age, the original one is it's always chosen. You make the deal with the devil, you gain these powers. It's not a you're bitten and like, oh, I'm a terrible person. Look into my eyes, Lawrence. Don't you know who I am? No, that's not what fucking happened, dude. No, they were cannibalizing people. Laurel, they were eating children, man. With a belt.
That was a riveting performance for one, but also I was talking about when you said like the wolf stories or the werewolf stories that we're used to. I was thinking,
for
like
us,
Lon Chaney Jr., right? Yeah, like Lon Chaney Jr. and Benicio del Toro and all that sort of stuff, like the Wolfman story. Yeah.
Dude, you remember that song? Dude, yes, I love that song. I was just gonna say that. My favorite line in that song is he says, I saw him drinking a pina colada at like Trader Joe's on something, and he goes, and his hair was perfect. I was like, I fucking love this. It's so nonsensical and insane, and I love it. I fucking love it. Everybody who knows me knows if that song comes on, everybody has to shut the fuck up or sing along. Those are your options. You can't talk over it. Don't try to sing another song. You can sing this song or you can shut up. Those are your options.
And the way he says his hair was perfect, it's like, it's not even the singing is perfect. It's just like, oh, so good. I couldn't even handle it. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that.
So, right. Those sort of werewolves. I got you. Yeah.
That's what you and I are familiar with. However, the original is like a lot more like it's the person is doing a devious deed of their choosing, you know. All that to be said. One difficult question in history about the werewolf trials is when exactly lycanthropy became evil. In early Nordic folklore, wolf-like attributes were viewed positively. Very obviously. I'm just going to say it. Berserkers. Hello. They were used to the advantage of heroic warriors on their quests. In other cases, it was a curse. Those who suffered from it deserved sympathy. Ancient cultures also did not see transformation to a beast as necessarily evil. I can't remember the name of one of the sagas, but one of them is turned into a bear. And it's a really sad story because he angers a goddess or something. I thought.
Don't do that.
Well, yeah, it gets turned into a bear, and then his wife, they have, something happens, they have a child. Somehow they have to, like, end up eating the bear. It's really terrible. It's really sad. They, like, I know, it's terrible. But all that to be said, the bear, the people transforming are the protagonist in the story, so they're not evil, they're not villains. Is where I was going with that. Not to make an already tragic evening simply more tragic, but they weren't viewed as evil in old, especially in an animistic, like an animism type society. So even like Proto-German. So when Rome invaded the Germanic tribes up north, guess who like came walking out of like misty forests? Because the Black Forest was probably misty and scary as fuck, in like wolf and bear pelts with just beating drums with human bones.
I'd be shaking in my sandals.
Yeah, you would. Why are you still there? Leave.
I don't really feel like this formation is gonna. Can we just turtle our way out of here? What is the name of that? Anyway. All the Roman Empire boys are screaming it out their thing right now. Anyway.
Right?
No, anyway, that formation where they have the whole box shield.
Yeah.
So anyway.
The tortoise one.
I would, no, thank you. That's right? Okay. I don't need to be a part of that.
I'd be out. And it makes me wonder how Rome still decided to come back. But, I don't know.
Right. Well, they want that sweet, sweet empire land there.
Yes. Colonization is more important than safety. So there you have it. So all that to be said.
Oh no. Okay.
Transformation into animals was not evil for early cultures. One theory is that Christianity had a habit of adopting pagan-like beliefs or symbols and turning them evil. Yeah. For example, images of the devil to look like a fawn-like creature are based on the Greek god Pan. Pan is the protector of... I know. I love Pan. Pan is the protector of nature. He fosters a relationship between people and nature. Pan's not evil. Pan is like, think like a woodland fairy or a sprite, like protecting the woods. Like that's more along the lines of who Pan was, as opposed to the devil imagery that then later gets associated with him at the introduction of Christianity. When werewolf mythology crossed with Christian theology, it came to be believed that the power to transform into a wolf must have been granted by the devil, and therefore must be punished. However, other researchers have pointed out that this is not strictly in line with Christian theology, which says that God is the only being strong enough to transform matter, and he would not transform something he created in his image into a soulless animal. But Well, yeah, but I don't know.
That one guy was, one guy was God's werewolf.
Yeah,
So
right?
come on now.
Well, I think what they're saying is that the devil would still have the power to transform things into evil. I think that's the argument, that only one can transform stuff and the other can't. But then, like, where would you get a demon from? I don't know. Now you're getting way too into theology for me. Regardless, those are what historians are arguing about.
Okay.
The theological argument above and the strong influence of the church at the time meant that most people did not believe men could physically transform into wolves. Prosecutors claimed that the werewolf phenomena was caused by illusions conjured by the devil or demons. Critics of the trials blamed delusions, which is certainly a possibility. Some critics of the werewolf trials believe that witches' ointments could have caused hallucinations among the population. So here's why. Unfortunately for the accused at the time, that basically didn't fucking matter until the 1960s, when chemical analysis of these salves and stuff like that and revealed that ingredients in these witches' ointments that contained, they call it a poisonous fungi, ergo, it's LSD. It's magic mushrooms, basically.
Ergot.
So they were tripping fucking balls.
Yeah, ergot. It's a fungus from, I think it's on rye or something like that.
Yeah, ergot.
There's like fungus or whatever poison.
Well, it's very possible.
That's what LSD, was synthesized from.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So, yeah, that actually makes a whole lot of sense if that's what's going on. That these lotions, I was like, what's going on with this fucking lotion? That they're like, and I'm like they're just like, this is it.
But like, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's not uncommon to take mood or psych altering drug to achieve a status of enlightenment, I think is what I'm looking for, or use it in a religious ceremony or whatever.
Sure.
So it wouldn't be that odd for, these witches' ointments or whatever. The herbal healers is really what they are. Putting stuff like that in. I mean, if they use it in ritual practice and if it's meant to like ease pain or something, who doesn't? I mean, look at people who take weed to ease their arthritis. Will they get through a day of work? Like, it's not that unusual, I think, that this stuff would have been used. But if that was one of those things where you didn't know what was happening and you're already a serial killer who is
that's what I'm thinking.
Also a pedophile. Probably doesn't help matters and probably makes it a whole lot worse. So
that could check out for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So they said that the contact with the ointment and that you said it was ergot.
Ergot, yeah.
Ergot. Contact with the ointment and the ergot poisonings could explain some of the werewolf sightings. Probably. Modern historians have also spotted similarities among the unfortunate people accused in these werewolf trials. As some might expect, they tended to be men. Though this is not always the case, but lycanthropy was believed by many to be a type of witchcraft. Sure. However, the strength and aggression of werewolves is a trait specifically associated with men. Their hairy, ferocious image has often been described by researchers as hyper-masculine. I thought that was really interesting because I agreed with it. Like, I never have looked at a werewolf as feminine ever in my life.
I'm what they call an alpha male werewolf. Betas are not like.
Don't be in Ohio.
Yeah, he'll probably just tell you he's an alpha too, which is great. So jackwagon. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because there aren't lady werewolf. Sorry, there's very little lady werewolf stuff that I have ever seen before. Like even Hollywood movie wise.
Oh,
I can only think of like Ginger Snaps is the only one I can think of.
The only female werewolf I ever,
I don't know any other ones,
not had contact with, but ever came across in storytelling was in a Stephen King book. And it was really interestingly written. It was like, God, I don't remember what it was called now. The accused were often marginalized members of society, such as peasants, beggars, shepherds, farmers. The beggars were pretty much already considered criminals. They were just pests, right? At that point. So it's not unusual for them to be accused of further crimes. And the dirty and smelly nature of shepherds' and farmers' work caused them to be stigmatized and often associated with animals. So, which is just kind of shitty, because...
Oh, come on. These are your shepherds and your farmers. They're the ones that are taking care of, like, your food.
Who,
like,
in some cases, like the episode I did with La Bête du Gévaudan, the farmers and shepherds were the ones facing off with this beast.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah. Oh, poor shepherds and farmers.
Werewolf lore in early times, did not involve transforming when there was a full moon. I know we kind of talked about it earlier. They involved a kind of magic item obtained from the devil, which could be used to affect transformation at any time. So we're talking a belt or a full-on wolf pelt. But since the church had distanced itself from the idea of humans physically transforming into wolves, the magic ointments that caused people to sleep also were associated, because while you were unconscious, the devil could jump in your body and use it for what he wanted. Werewolf trials continued sporadically into the 17th century in Germany, the Netherlands, and Eastern Europe, particularly in those isolated rural areas. Gradually, the educated and the elite stopped believing in the devil or animal transformation, that any of that is real, like in 1692, that Thies, who was accused of transforming, they flogged him instead of killing him.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so he was also banished for life. So that sucks. Don't talk about crying wolf. Anyway, in an era in which the notion of serial killers and psychopathy was beyond people, it is somewhat understandable that the myths and legends around shape-shifting and lycanthropy, werewolfery, became an explanation for the horrific crimes of certain individuals. And as with witches, the confessions of those accused were usually the result of torture, mental illness, or lack of understanding what they were actually even confessing to. This, much like the Salem witch trials, could serve as a cautionary tale to never fall into the trap of extremism or isolationism, and always strive to think critically. We should never stoop so low into savagery that we become the monsters ourselves.
Oh.
So,
nice
there you have it. Those are the werewolf trials of Europe.
Some might say, woof. We are at the break in between the stories. We're so happy to have you here, and we hope that you are happy to be here and that you've been enjoying yourself in the Smoke Circle so far. If so, please make sure that you click the follow, the subscribe, whatever that button may be on the platform on which you're listening. That way you are notified for all of our new episodes going forward. And while you're there subscribing, please make sure to rate and review. That is the best way that you can help support our little show for free. It helps us move up the charts and get seen by more history lovers like yourself. If you want to support us in a different way and get access to more content, like bonus episodes, historical cooking videos, historical movie nights, head on over to Patreon and join the Best Buds Club. You can even join our Patreon Best Buds Club at a free level, so you can at least sign up and hang out with us and poke around and see what's going on over there. And of course, we're on social media, on Instagram at High Tales of History and on TikTok at High Tales of History Pod. Please follow us over there too. Say hi, interact with us. Over there we have news about the show, but we also have little historical videos. We call them History One-Hitters, and we would love for you to join us there too. All of our social media accounts and our Patreon information is all included in our show notes. All right, we're going to get back to the show now. Then let's puff pass it on to part 2. Smoke Circle. I am bringing you some scandal, some intrigue, a little bit of gossip for my episode today. I want you to grab your folding fans. There you go. Unfurl it. That's the sound of unfurling your folding fans. We're going to gossip behind them, like this, and uncover a chilling chapter from 17th century France. So we're staying in Europe, pretty much the same sort of centuries as well, too.
I knew where you needed it left off,
yeah,
so I was like, got you.
Just pass it on over.
Baton. Pass.
Got it. Go. Hit. This was an era of intrigue, power struggles, and most notably, a scandal that shook the very foundations of the court of King Louis XIV, the Sun King. We're exploring what was known as the Affair of the Poisons, and then just doing a little bonus poison story afterwards. So it is poison history, spooky, horrible histories for October today. So we're going to go over to Italy and then learn about the infamous Aqua Tofana poison ring, which was a so-called slow poison that was blamed for the murder of over 600 people. So we have a lot of history myths to get to today. So we're going to start in our fancy ass carriage. Everybody hop in. We're going to get in one of those, we're going to Cinderella our shit, pumpkin, bink, ding, here's our carriage. Everybody hop in. There's room for everyone, and we're going to hotbox this shit on our way to Versailles. Just keep those windows rolled up. It's all right. No one has to worry about driving. The horses have got it. I don't know where I'm going with this one. Hotboxing the carriage. So as we're on our way there, I'm just going to let you guys all know a little bit about the residents of the palace. On the throne, we have King Louis XIV, and we have his Queen Marie Theresa of Austria. Now, Louis is, yes.
Is that the same lady as Marie Antoinette, or are there just a shit ton of Maries?
There's so many Maries, but I get what you're going with this. Okay, so there's Louis XIV, and then there's Louis XV, and Louis XV was married to Marie Antoinette, and that's the whole French Revolution and everything.
Oh, so this guy happened right before that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Interessant. Okay.
Oui.
That's German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Louis is the poster child for something called absolutism. Absolutism is a type of monarchy in which said monarch is completely in control of all of it. The government, the military, the
church,
finances,
state, armies.
He is
treasury.
He's the thing. He is answerable only to God. And for King Louis XIV, he's not only that, but he's like, I'm also going to uphold the Catholic faith in a really strong draconian sort of way. Yeah. So along with the absolutism, he gathers his entire court to live with him at Versailles, sort of like keep your friends close and your enemies closer sort of thing, like,
Yeah.
And then decrees this whole list of social etiquette and rules that everyone has to obey at the court. I'd like you all to keep that in mind, especially the absolutism part. There's a reason that he called himself the Sun King and chose the sun as his personal emblem, because it all rose with him, it set with him, and it all revolved around him. And the members of his court wanted that sunlight, baby. Give me that sweet vitamin D from you, your majesty. That was gross. He was giving no, gross. No. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm thinking about it too much. Oh, no. Oh, dear.
Don't worry, the ladies in waiting were getting some vitamin D. I'll tell you what.
They were. Oh, okay. They were. So
now that I've defiled that.
Gross. Oh, it's in my head. I hate it. So anyway, the sun, right? Let's go back to the sunshine analogy here. They wanted that sunshine on their face. And, oh no. And they were going to do anything that they needed to make that happen. So ambition, man, this hotbox is crazy, isn't it? Oh my God, here we go. Jealousy, deceit, all of it just going on in the court. It's terrible. Anyway.
It's ridiculous. Keep pouring the tea.
Pour this tea. In 1679, the Lieutenant General of Police, Nicolas de la Reynie, received some pretty disturbing reports alerting the police to this widespread illegal trade of poison all over the city, all over the fucking city.
Poison? So, perhaps poison. Murder?
Yes. Put a pin in it right there. We're going to rewind 3 years back to 1676. And we're going to meet a noblewoman who sort of kicks off this whole affair of the poisons, as this becomes known, when her execution for serial poisoning and murder foreshadows this entire thing. Her name was Marie Madeleine Marguerite d'Aubray, and she was the Marquise de Brinvilliers.
Imagine that, another Marie.
Mm-hmm. So many. And she was a real piece of work, this gal. Essentially, long story short, she was a serial poisoner, which alas frequently led to serial murders because when you're poisoning that many people, some people are going to die. And she was eventually caught, and before her public execution in 1676, and very gruesome executions, she said, out of so many guilty people, must I be the only one to be put to death? Half the people in this town are involved in this sort of thing, and I could ruin them if I were to talk. Oh, you have names? There are other people that are doing this, the court says. The court's like, please, women, absolve yourself of these sins. Let these crimes end with you.
No, you can absolve me by not killing me.
Mm-hmm. And she said, no, stitches get snitches, and snitches get stitches, is how that saying now goes. And the court's like, your sentence, part of your sentence is that you're going to be beheaded. There's no stitching that back on. So just tell us names, because we're done. We're done with your nonsense. Tell us, spill it. And she says, no, I'm not going to. She was publicly beheaded, burned on a pyre, and her remains dumped into the Sun River. Ick.
Yeah, dude. I mean, again, that whole burning thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just, themes. We're so connected tonight with our disgusting, gruesome
really
themes.
are. All you had to do was stick with some medieval torture.
Yeah.
Right at home.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to go forward again. 1679. Back to Lorraine in the police department. An inquiry revealed that people of all classes, from the commoners all the way to the nobles, in the court of King Louis XIV, were seeking out female fortune tellers in Paris in order to procure poisons, potions, and powders to use for a variety of purposes, from black masses and witchcraft to love potions to poisons for murder. So what I like to think of, I'm not sure if Lorraine was in charge of Madame de Bronvier's case a few years prior, but I like to just think that he just like gets this like flashback to her being like, half the people in this town are doing this sort of thing, and I could ruin some people. And then it just like brings him back to 1679. He's like, mon Dieu, this is not good at all. There are people in the court that have poison. So he alerts the king. He's like, excuse me, Your Majesty, I don't want to worry you. I know you're really busy with your ballet and having people watch you take a shit. But,
and ladies in waiting.
And all your vitamin D going on. Yuck. Gross. Don't want to worry you, because I know you're already worried about this sort of thing, and you already have a person taste testing your food because you're worried about being poisoned. But don't mean to alarm you, but there is poison. There's stuff going on. And the king's like, whoa, let's get on that. In fact, I so much want you to get onto that I'm going to have you start a special tribunal called the Chambre Ardente. Chambre Ardente. There we go. Special tribunal in charge of this. It goes on for about 3 to 4 years. And by the end of its investigation, it had issued 319 subpoenas and arrested 194 people, sentencing 36 of them to death.
Wow.
Only one of those 36 sentences were carried out.
Oh.
Fortune teller and witch Catherine de Montfaucon, known simply as La Voisin. So La Voisin was born in 1640 to a woman who was frequently assumed to be a sorceress herself. And at a young age, Catherine was initiated into magical skills and showed a talent for it, whatever that means.
The coven, dude.
Yeah. When she gets older, she marries a man who is not nice to her at all. In fact, is rather abusive. And it was a really unhappy marriage. She's not happy. Everyone knows she's not happy. She makes it no secret that she hates his guts and has tried several times to kill him. This guy didn't die, though, unfortunately, but she tried. But she is a really talented witch, sorceress, fortune teller, whatever moniker you'd like to put with her. I think any of them work in this sort of situation. But she was known to be a wink, wink helper of women. So whether that be poisoning your nasty husband or abortion or healing.
Mm-hmm.
She's a, quote, wise woman in the town. La Voisin was arrested on March 12th, 1679, as she was coming out of Mass. And one of my sources was really good that I used for this story. It actually came from a law journal. They were talking about the legal proceedings and how it looked. But they did really great research on this whole case. And when she was arrested and they searched her premises, it revealed, quote, all sorts of magic powders, venomous potions, sacrilegious objects, grimoires or black books, primers for Satanists and necromancers, the ABCs of abracadabra, sacerdotal vestments and paraphernalia, a cross, incense, black tapers, some candles, a mysterious oven in a garden pavilion, redolent of evil, noxious fumes, fragments of human infant bones in the ashes, end quote, as well as a long list of her clients. She was accused of having attempted to poison her husband several times at the instigation of her lover at the time, the sage, another practitioner of magic, and of having performed abortions for a fee, burying the premature infants in her garden. So that's what's coming out about her from her lover. And when he was arrested a few days later, I'm going to say former lover Lesage, because fuck this guy. He sang like a bird. He was like, let me tell you all about her and all the things that she's doing.
Well, as a practitioner of magic, he would be put to death too. So he either gives her up or...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree with you. He's a disloyal swine, but what can be done?
He's like, let me give you a bigger name, let me point you higher up the chain here. He is also, so he's not only dishing all about her lucrative business, La Voisin's business here, but her exclusive list of customers that included members of the king's entourage, which also included, get this, y'all, his mistress of many years and the mother of 7 of his children, Madame de Montespan. Woo!
Wait, they can have illegitimate children?
Yeah, well, he's also the king, so yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be telling him no, right?
Oh, was Louis V?
Oh. He legitimizes them later, but they were technically illegitimate children.
How can you legitimize them?
Decree. I think he just said they're my children, and therefore, well, I mean, yeah, monarchies, man. Madame de Montespan here is named as one of La Voisin's customers by Lesage and other practitioners of magic. They're all like, oh yeah, you should go look at the king's mistress. She's been going to see La Voisin. So they all point out Madame de Montespan, but La Voisin herself does not say that she's ever seen Madame de Montespan.
Mm.
She never names any names, despite the various terrible means that the French police used to try to get said names from her, aka torture. And like Madame de Brinvilliers years prior, La Voisin says the same sort of thing in her confession. She's like, Paris is full of this sort of thing. And the customers for her types of services are many and span all the classes. So when it was realized that the king's mistress was potentially on the customer list and had been for some time, the police attempted to scrub her name from any reports, and the king officially and suddenly disbands the tribunal. It was told to the police that Montespan bought various poisons and love potions in order to win and keep the affections of the king, as well as retain her influence at court. So let's get those teacups out again. Light another joint. There we go. I'm going to put a little more hot tea in your cup. Going back to this source from the law journal, it said that Madame de Montespan, very beautiful, from a long and illustrious line of French nobility. She's from this nice family, but she's kind of obnoxious is the vibes that I was getting from this, that she wasn't really very well liked. So some people really liked her company, but some people found her really annoying and she wasn't that likable. Particularly the king, who found her really obnoxious and would be like, oh gosh, does she have to be here like right now? Because she was a lady in waiting to the queen. And he was like, oh man, she's here. Oh God, she's awful. Like, she's so annoying. And then one day, all of a sudden, over time, either she grew on him or maybe something more magical. I don't know.
Or he saw her tits.
Maybe. maybe that was something that happened. But suddenly he was all about her, and not just not minding that she was around, but he was like, let's have lots of sex. Let's do this. And they were like banging every day, and she becomes his favorite and longtime mistress. So I don't know. Love potions and magic spells? I don't know. Probably not, but I'll let you decide. Lavoisin was burned at the stake at a public execution in 1682. Yep. An example to any other who would follow down that same dark path. Now, Madame de Montespan was not arrested and was allowed to continue living at Versailles as part of Louis's court. But the Sun King no longer shone his light and warmth upon her, and instead moved on to a new mistress who happened to be the school teacher for their children together. That's nice. Montespan later moved from the palace and passed away in her 60s. Louis XIV issued an edict outlawing all practices and acts of magic or superstition in word or speech, either profaning the text of Holy Writ or the liturgy, or saying or doing things which cannot be explained naturally. Essentially, no more believing in magic. Mm-hmm. No more of that. And for an absolute monarch, answerable only to God, having this thought that there could be something at work in the world more powerful than himself, that could influence his decisions and what he's doing and how he feels. And so, or even poison, like, or poisons and get sick, right? Or die. Right. Like, none of these are good things if you're the king, especially if you, like, you're the world to yourself. To yourself. People are so self-absorbed. It's silly. But we can't have that. And so that is the affair of the poisons. So I have a little bonus story, more maybe of like a breaking down of a popular story that maybe might be a little more mythology than real in some parts. And now we are going to remain in the same century, but this time we are going to travel east to Italy, and we're going to learn about the Aqua Tofana poison ring. Now, Aqua Tofana was the name given to a colorless, odorless, and tasteless poison, often disguised as a skin tonic that came in a little pretty bottle. For 20 years, it was used to quickly and quietly kill unwanted and or abusive husbands in various towns in Italy, killing possibly 600 people. Possibly. Maybe. The truth about the poison is actually really hard to pin down. But I'm going to just give you the story as it's commonly known, and then we'll pull it apart. And so across history, regardless of time period and country and culture and stuff like that, like very frequently throughout history, for women, marriage can be a bit of a sentence, a life sentence. There's the social pressure that you, quote unquote, like had to have a husband for security. But once you had, that was it. Like, you're kind of, at least in Italy at this time, like, that's it. You're stuck with them. And unless you die or he dies, y'all are husband and wife till death do you part, basically. Which is fine if, like, you're lucky to married for love, or he's nice to you, or and kind, or whatever, whatever. If it's a good match and a good pairing. But if he wasn't, that's not great. That's not a relationship you want to be in. So enter being Aqua Tofana. Now, Aqua Tofana was most likely made with arsenic, lead, and belladonna. Although, since records of the poison are elusive, historians don't really know for sure that those are the ingredients, but those were common poisonous ingredients at the time that were used. So they're guessing. It was also packaged as a pretty simple bottle. It looks nice. It looks like a skin serum. It's kind of like packaged as one, and could easily be kept amongst a woman's toiletries and cosmetics. But it's like a if you know, you know sort of thing, like, oh, hey girl, I see your Aqua Tofana. It's good for your skin. Wink, wink, right? So your skin, wink, is so good. Being that it was odorless and tasteless, it could be added to all sorts of drink and food and be undetectable. And it also didn't kill someone like a cartoon, like make you go like all the colors, and then like the smoke comes out your ears, and then you go like through all these herky jerky motions, and then like a little tombstone pops out of, like, you're dead and buried. That was really over the top. It actually mirrored symptoms.
Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of when I said that. I was like, it also doesn't kill you like a cartoon. And I was like, why did I write that? I don't know. Yeah, you don't do like a Looney Tunes sort of death. It would actually mirror symptoms of like more minor illnesses, like a cold. And then like by the second dose, it would progress to be more stomach ailments, vomiting, nausea, diarrhea. And then beyond that, anything beyond 3 to 4 doses and beyond would kill a person. Juliana Tofana is the name associated with the Aqua Tofana poison and poison ring, and it's said that she dispensed the poison for about 20 years until her undoing by one of her customers. It's said that this customer bought some Aqua Tofana to use on her husband, poisoned his soup, and as she's serving him, he goes to take the spoon and he's bringing it up to his lips, and she's like, "No, stop, wait. Don't eat the soup. Don't." She has this change of heart, and he's like, "Why don't you want me to eat the soup?" And she
don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't do it. Don't do it. That she later reveals, now whether that's by any sort of physical coercement, it's revealed that she has poisoned the soup, and here is the name of the person from whence she's gotten this poison, Juliana Tofana. Okay, so that's one version. Yet another version of Ms. Tofana's downfall is that the women were just heavy with the burden of their guilt for what they had done, and they started confessing to their priests also around that same time. It's thought that people were looking around and finally noticing that there were a lot of young widows in town, and suddenly they had money. Like, wow, look at all these young widows in town. They have means.
I somehow feel that was more to do with it than guilt.
My goodness. So, whatever that might be, you know. But those aren't the only versions of Julia Tofana's story. And according to historian Mike Dash, who isn't quite so sure about the Aqua Tofana story as we know it anyway, and as it's typically told. So other versions then is that the first half of the 1600s, she's living her life. She's thriving and life is good, trade is good in Sicily. About the 1630s. Another one has her still alive and in prison a century later, which doesn't make sense. She wouldn't be alive that long. So we're getting a couple of accounts for her in different time periods. And then she's supposed to have operated in Palermo, in Naples, and in Rome. And also on top of that, they're like, did she invent the poison and that's why it's called Aqua Tofana? Or did she get taught the ingredients through a long line of other people and healers and whatever, and she just is the one that knows the recipe and now calls it Aqua Tofana? Maybe she's really good at marketing and she's like, this is Aqua Tofana, named after me.
Or and then she just gained it. Like, I could see it more being, it just gained that name through her popularity.
Sure.
And that's just what people choose to call it. Mm-hmm. Like when anyone else talks about some illicit drug or whatever, same idea.
Mm-hmm. Sure. That makes sense too. And even what happens to her at the end of her life is a mystery. So there are several different versions of her life and when it takes place in history. So one source says that she died of natural causes in 1651. Another will say that she found sanctuary at a convent, but still made her poisons and like snuck it out through different people through her little underground and then into her poison ring. And then some other people say that she was captured and tortured and executed for her crimes. And then they all have different years and as to when this all happened. So 1651, 1659, 1709, 1730. That's nuts.
Well, we can probably discount the 17 ones.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. So historian Mike Dash, his theory is that Tofana died in 1651 of natural causes in her own bed. She's fine. She's happy. Passes away. And her associates in the poison ring, I think Spara was the name of the woman that took over the ring. But anyway, they continue on and use Aqua Tofana with her blessing and keep her legacy going through it. But unfortunately, they're the ones who end up standing trial when the poison ring is discovered, because there are indeed records of a poison ring trial in Rome in 1658. So people think like, oh, okay, so this it was the Aqua Tofana poison ring, but maybe Julia Tofana had passed away a few years prior.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably not necessarily, I mean, that would make a lot of sense. That sucks.
So the remaining 5 members of her gang were put on trial, with evidence being heard for 46 cases of murder. Some people will say upwards of 600 murders. So again, we're getting a wide range there. But otherwise, the story of Aqua Tofana and Julia Tofana is kind of a slippery one, and no one can really pin it down with any sort of real certainty.
It's like the Robin Hood of the poisons.
Yeah, and it is. I kind of think is it kind of a
folklore about it.
Yeah, there's a guy. Yeah, it definitely has a sort of mythology, and some people think that. Well, we don't even know for sure what the ingredients were, but Aqua Tofana, there wasn't even any sort of historical evidence for a poison that existed in the way that Aqua Tofana did. So all that stuff I listed, so I was like, it's odorless, it's tasteless, it's colorless. There weren't any poisons that historians know of that fit that description. Most things you could either smell or taste. It was kind of weird. And you could be like, is this poisoned? Also, that were slow acting as well, too. Yeah. So there are a lot of question marks around the Aqua Tofana case, but poison rings, they're supposed to be elusive. They're supposed to have a clandestine sort of thing.
You're not supposed to write everything down. So if you get caught, there's not evidence of your wrongdoing. Duh.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't write shit down on purpose.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, when you look at, I think they're also called inheritance powders, where you're looking at poison being used in history against abusive spouses or family members or for an inheritance or, it is kind of an interesting story. I think that kind of becomes its own sort of folklore of, women sort of taking matters into their own hands in this sort of way. But a little bit of spooky history, a little horrible history of a
lot of horrible history, actually.
Poisons and werewolves, just bringing all the terrible stuff to you tonight. Katie, thank you so much for your wonderful history on the werewolf trials. That was bananas.
It's a wild time.
Thanks for enlightening us on that.
It was so wild. I literally stopped halfway through my other story and just went hard left in the safari vehicle.
And we're going to do it all again in a couple of weeks. Have some more Halloween history, spooky history, and just keep it going. And why not? And also make sure you give Katie a little birthday love. She turns a certain milestone. I won't say it. She turns a certain sort of milestone on her birthday. And so make sure you
I know, I'll finally be 20.
She'll finally be 20, 21, Katie. We're a 21 and older substance.
Oh, that's
show.
right.
Yeah. She'll finally be 22, I should say. So give her a little rating and review on this show. She'll love it. I'll love it. The show will love it. The algorithms will love it. We'd love to have more people here in the Smoke Circle with us. But thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back again with you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, folks, get money, get high, give love, and
don't engage in general werewolfery or menacing, okay? No menacing werewolfery.
Just don't do
this All Hallows Eve. Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself, guys. Come on. Bye.
Bye.